What is up, dudes? Welcome back to another video full of my opinions. And yes, I am dressed as Misa from Death Note. I thought, you know, with the theme of this video, I might as well dress up as a character with sex appeal, I guess. And please bear with my extremely cheap wig right now. I'm trying to cover my sideburns. So if you haven't seen it yet, I did make a previous video on the toxic behaviors of the cosplay community. And this video is going to play to a similar sentiment. In my last one, I talked about gatekeeping and how not even putting on a costume escapes this, apparently. But what I didn't touch upon is this sort of stigma towards lewd or sexy type cosplayers.
Also, don't get me started on those cosplay whores. They take a somewhat modest looking character and turn it into a porn star. Yes, we get it. You have great tits and a nice ass. Put some fucking clothes on and get a real job.
This sort of drama is more prevalent amongst the actual people in the community. And by that, I mean the broader nerd community. So that includes gaming, comics, what have you. It's sort of like some inner circle gatekeeping going on, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. There seems to be this common notion that adding sex appeal to an existing character or being drawn to doing those types of characters sort of cheapens the hobby in a sense. You can see this with incredibly popular cosplayers all the time. It almost seems like Jessica NIGRI has a little cult full of people who hate on her for making this type of content. Christine Sprankle, a once prominent Magic the Gathering cosplayer, once found herself amidst online drama when a prominent YouTuber made a salty video about her for being a hot cosplayer and making money off of it. Ketyuska Moonfox has been the subject of online attacks, and so has Holly Fox. In an interview, Australian cosplayer Kayla Erin once stated that, "I've been called a fake cosplayer who just wants attention, said that I just want to get my tits out, that I'm ruining cosplay. People have told me that I've ruined their childhood because I've cosplayed stuff they grew up with, even if I grew up with it too. Even if I love the character and cosplay them how I want to, I get called a slut and that I just want attention or money or something." So, you know, you get my point. People try to draw a line between what constitutes as a cosplayer and a sexy cosplayer, and they do that to belittle those who are more into the adult-oriented side of the hobby. Thankfully, it is not much of a prevalent issue as the other stuff that I've talked about, but, you know, it is still a thing and something I think worth discussing and ranting about, because I mean, what else did I make this channel for? So let's look at some of the common gatekeeping beliefs that spur this sort of resentment towards sexy, provocative, or adult-oriented cosplayers. And I'm gonna try and be as fair as I can in my responses, although I gotta admit a lot of these are pretty ridiculous. Number one, they do it for attention. Yes, they do. Yes, we all do, in fact. All of us cosplayers are in this hobby to gain some semblance of attention one way or another. Come on, guys, let's get real here. Whether it's to gain acknowledgement for this amazing mech suit that you made, to display your makeup skills, or to simply put yourself out there and meet other people of the same fandom, we are in this hobby to be seen. You think that I just slave away for days, weeks, months even on a costume, or spend chunks of my savings buying one off the internet just to sit around my room and LARP? No, you bet your shit I'll put that on Instagram, Facebook, DeviantArt even, because I'm proud of the work I've done. I think my makeup looks bomb, or I simply want to show other potential friends on the internet that, hey, I like this thing. Do you like the thing too? And interestingly enough, there are actually some people who are offended that these girls are giving into the male gaze and that somehow cheapens them as people. I'm gonna get a little nerdy here for a bit because, believe it or not, I actually read a study that touched upon this certain topic, of which I forgot the researcher and the name of, so I'm just gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna put a link down below for anybody who actually wants to read the whole thing. I'm also not gonna wear these glasses because they're super reflective and they're pushing against my falsies. So this person who did the report performed their study at a particular con where they found a lot of women doing photo shoots and discovered that they actually had a lot of autonomy when doing them. When asked, they also said that they tended to choose characters based on their personal connections with said character and not whether or not it gained male attention. A large proportion of them also make their costumes without any male assistance, and in the survey they said that they exhibit their cosplays for themselves, for each other, and anyone else who may wish to see them. All the photo shoots and interactions that the researcher observed showed these women directing the photographers and pitching their original ideas. Alright, so I know that I'm getting a bit deep, bear with me here, but I want to end this point with this article by Vox that puts it rather nicely. They point out that these women enjoy cosplaying these characters because it allows them to own their sexuality, which can feel empowering when they're choosing to wear these costumes for themselves, irregardless of how men or other people might think. So I mean, in summary, I believe these ladies deserve a lot more credit than they're given. They're simply pursuing and doing a thing that makes them happy, and I would say most, if not all, aren't just damsels to the hands of men. So again, you know, they're just doing a thing that's not hurting anybody. Let them do the thing, and I'm going to take off this blazer because it's freaking hot in here. Number 2, they're just doing it to get money, or they're just in this hobby for the money. Oh right, so I think that having a passion for something and wanting to make money off of it aren't mutually exclusive. Just because they're profiting a lot off of this content doesn't mean that they love to cosplay any less. Also, welcome to the world of capitalism, baby. There's a huge market for this sort of stuff, and yeah, lewd and sexy cosplays make a ton of money. Sex sells, that's just culture and consumerism for you. And these people have the assets to earn off of that, so why not? If you're gonna get mad, don't hate the players, hate the game. Next, number 3, sexy cosplay doesn't involve as much effort and therefore equals to lesser cosplay. Alright, so hands up to all you cosplayers out there. How many times have you gotten the comment, now this is cosplay and not just some chick flashing her tits? Breaking these kinds of comments down, I believe what is trying to be implied is that, hey, you know, it's nice to see someone actually put effort into making a mech suit or a weapon or a super detailed costume that covers the entire body rather than somebody who's just simply wearing less clothing. But contesting that point, do they not think that it takes a lot of hard work to achieve Jessica Nigri's abs? Do they not think that it takes a lot of bravery and confidence to put yourself out there? And what about the skimpy yet detailed costumes that require a lot of hard work anyway? You know, again, to take Jessica Nigri as an example, she once did a sexed up version of Junkrat from Overwatch, and yeah, it's skimpy, she's selling her sex appeal. But I'm sure it involved a hell of a lot of crafting to make that frag launcher that he carries around. I think people are really missing just how much time and effort and money that it takes to design and make a sexy cosplay. And I mean, even if it doesn't, it still takes a hell of a lot of guts. And okay, so how about the characters that were already drawn sexy? I've cosplayed Starfire, her rebirth version, but have you seen what her original costume looked like? Yep, pretty scantily clad if you ask me. So if I wore a cosplay that was completely accurate to Marv Wolfman's design, does that make me a lesser cosplayer? I mean, I'd like to think not. Also, these photo shoots involve a lot of time and effort and money. I mean, not only do you have the costume and the props to go along with it, you've also got the camera, the lighting equipment. I'm sure it costs a hell of a lot to rent out those huge studios. I mean, it's still a grind. These photos aren't just willed out of nowhere. Okay, so my take on these 3 perspectives is that they're pretty ridiculous and they stem from envy over anything else, really. Those who are mad that there are a lot of mainly female cosplayers who are into this sort of thing, I don't get how someone's way of getting attention and making money from it is affecting you in any way. They're really simply part of their own little subsection of the community, and it may not be to your taste, but why gatekeep? But now I'm gonna get into 2 perspectives that people actually deem as serious problems to the coscom as a whole. Number 4, sexy cosplay fetishizes the community. Now there could be some weight to this notion given that there is a whole bunch of sexual content out there in the coscom, and it could leave many outsiders wondering if that is what cosplay is all about. I can see why some people would get put off by that being the mainstream image of cosplay when really it's just a subsect of it. But I mean, people are always gonna have their stereotypes of certain communities, some more positive than others, but I think if you encounter a person and a group of people who view cosplay in that light and it bothers you, then just take the time to fill them in on other facets of the hobby. Because people are gonna think whatever the hell they want and they're always gonna have their misconceptions. But I don't think that's the fault of provocative cosplayers, because clearly those who have a skewed perception of the community haven't been exposed to all the other wonderful art forms that take part in cosplay, of which there are plenty. So just share those with them. And you know, I think there's always gonna be a sexual aspect to a lot of hobbies actually. There's a will, there's a way, right? Like the fan art community, for example, has a large proportion of them Rule 34ing every fictional character known to man, but I don't see as many complaints over how they're tainting the image of fan art. I mean, I don't know, what do you guys think? And so my 5th and final point is that people are concerned that these cosplayers sexualize child characters. So I would completely understand why some people would be concerned over seeing a child character or a minor unnecessarily sexualized in cosplay. An example with this would be Kana from Ms. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, of which the anime community has gone through some pretty hard lengths to protect from cosplay sexualization. But then you've got people like Vera Bambi, who's well known for her lewd and sexual cosplay content, asserting that when she does do a sexy costume of a well-known children's character, she does it under the idea that that's how the character would look at her age, therefore not making the child character sexy, but dressing up as a sexy adult version of them.
So if I tend to put a more adult spin on it, it's because I am an adult, and I would, if Wednesday was my age today, she'd be more Morticia. You know, and Morticia was always very sexy.
Someone told me like, hey, if you can bend your gender in cosplay, then why not bend your age? Now, of course, there still could be issues to this if you're adding sex appeal to a character and still dressing up in what would be considered as children's clothing or children's fashion, like, say, doing a sexed up version of Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats while still wearing his diaper and binky. Those 2 images probably won't go down very well and kind of adds this sort of pedophilic fetish. I also want to touch upon specific convention rules. There are going to be some events that want to keep their appearance family family friendly, thus wanting their cosplayers to dress a bit more modestly than they would like. And I think if you're attending an event, it is your responsibility to adhere to their guidelines. That's the cost of going to an event that's hosted by somebody else. Luckily, there are other conventions out there that are a bit more lax in the rules and actually encourage this sex positivity sort of aesthetic. An example of that would be Sexpo here in Australia. Okay, so final notes. Some people believe that the only way to grow in cosplay is to do provocative costumes. I can see how it can be frustrating for some people who aren't receiving as much attention as the sexier cosplayers. But like I said, sex sells, and that's not gonna go away anytime soon. Fortunately, there are other ways to grow a following. I know of a ton of incredible cosplayers with huge fan bases that don't necessarily have this type of content as their primary niche. You can still have a loyal fan base if your specialty is sewing or designing costumes, building mech armor, or completely transforming yourself through makeup. I mean, sure, you could feel a bit unfair seeing other people grow faster than you just because they're showing more skin or veering off into more adult-like content. But you should never feel pressure to do that sort of content if you're not comfortable with it for the mere goal of chasing likes. Because if that's the case, I personally don't think that's the sexy cosplayers' problem. Maybe your objectives for being in the hobby might not be the healthiest if all you're after is social media fame. But okay, I get that it's different if you're pursuing cosplay as a profession. I recently talked to a friend about this who had some pretty interesting insight on cosplay as a business. Thanks, Claude. I get that for the professionals, there will be this sort of pressure to make the business-driven decision to drive more revenue by branching out into this sort of content. And I think here is where things get a little bit more complex. I can't really say from my end how it feels like to make that choice. I mean, cosplay for me, primarily right now, is a hobby. Although it would be nice to make a profit off of doing what I love, I've never had to face the pressure of weighing out my options on how I can make more money from this. So since I've got no hard and fast stance on this one, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. My general response to this entire thing is that there is no one way to cosplay. In my opinion, as long as you've got a costume on, you're cosplaying, whether it's to show off this incredible armor that you made, to display your makeup skills, to meet others in the same fandom, or to sell your sex appeal. This honestly to me feels like common sense given how cosplay is literally costume play, and I don't why some non-professionals take it as seriously as they do. I want to ask the hobbyists in the community, not the professionals, because like I said, this certain trend does bring about the business pressure to cater to a certain market. But for those who are in it just for fun and are mad that these subsets of modeling or adult content are somehow tainting the community, or that people are just in it to look and feel hot, how are these people affecting you? I get that there's that frustration of having these traditionally geeky interests that were once upon a time made fun of go mainstream, and seeing how those who would stereotypically make fun of these cliques trying to get in on how acceptable or cool it is now. But isn't that a good thing? Would you rather the hobby and nerd culture remain as something that's exclusive to the misfits or the outcasts? My point is that these people aren't here to seize your fandoms. They aren't here to seize your will to put on that costume. They can do their thing while you can do yours. But again, you know, these are all my opinions. Do let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should sexy cosplay have its own genre from regular cosplay? I mean, I personally don't think so, but let me know your guys' thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this deep dive into yet another drama-filled aspect of this hobby. For a community that role-plays as fictional characters, you didn't think that we'd have this much tea, did ya? But I'll see you guys in the next video.